Pregnant woman rents cheap room but discovers something that makes her leave immediately in the middle of the night.
Hello everyone. Enjoy these relaxing moments while you watch.
Martha dragged her worn-out suitcase along the cold cobblestone street in the middle of December in Salem. The biting wind slashed at her skin like knives, making her fingers go numb. She was 5 months pregnant, her belly clearly protruding beneath the thick coat. Her tired face and disheveled hair made it easy to guess, she had been through dark days. "I can't go back to Boston," she whispered, her eyes red. No job, no home, no one. She had finalized her divorce 3 weeks ago. Her ex-husband James had abandoned her after finding out she was pregnant, saying he wasn't ready to be a father. Still reeling from that heartbreak, Martha was then fired from the cafe where she worked because the owner, Mr. Phillip, didn't want to deal with a gloomy pregnant woman. Everything felt like an endless nightmare. Looking for a room to rent? An old voice rang out behind her, snapping Martha out of her thoughts. She turned around. A frail elderly woman, bundled in a thick knitted coat, stood by the door of a faded yellow house. She wore a gray felt hat and smiled, but her small eyes were deep and dark, like bottomless wells. "Yes. I'm looking for a place to stay. Just for a few weeks." "I'll pay in full," Martha replied, gripping her bag strapped tightly. "What's your name, dear?" "Martha." "I'm Rachel. The upstairs room is vacant. Not fancy, but warm and cheap." She pointed toward the upper floor. $50 a week. Stay as long as you like." Martha hesitated. That price for a room in central Salem was unusually low. But she didn't have many options. "Thank you, ma'am. I'll take it," she nodded. "Come on up. I'll get you the key." The house was eerily quiet. As Martha stepped up the wooden stairs, each footfall creaked and groaned. The air smelled of mildew and camphor. The hallway was dim, the wallpaper faded and peeling. Rachel stopped at a brown wooden door and opened it. "No one stayed here in a long time. But it's got a bed, a dressing table, and a gas heater. Take a look." Martha stepped in. Faint light filtered through thick curtains. The room looked clean, but carried an undeniable sense of age. The musty smell seemed to have seeped into every fabric. On the dressing table sat a foggy mirror and a wooden drawer. "This drawer is stuck," Martha tried pulling it, then turned back. Rachel smiled faintly, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Don't try to open it, dear. It's been broken for ages." "I see," Martha nodded, though her heart beat faster for some reason. Rachel pulled a small key from her coat pocket and placed it in Martha's hand. "Everything's yours now. There's a shared kitchen downstairs, hot water, and if you need it, I've got some herbal tea very good for pregnant women. I used to be a nurse, you know." "Really?" "Yes. Back in the day, I worked at Mercy Hospital. I may be old now, but I still know how to care for the weary." Martha bowed her head in thanks and dragged her suitcase inside. Once Rachel left, Martha closed the door and leaned against the wall. A thick silence enveloped her, only broken by the faint ticking of a clock somewhere. She sat down on the bed and let out a heavy sigh. She picked up her phone and messaged the only friend she still kept in touch with, Teresa, a classmate from nursing school. Martha had dropped out after her first year. "Martha, I'm in Salem. Found a room. The landlady, she's strange." "Teresa, strange how?" "Martha, she stared at me for a long time. Like, she already knew me." "Teresa, Salem is full of old things and weird stories. Be careful. Don't drink anything she gives you." Martha stared at the last message, hesitating. The next morning, when she stepped out of her room, Rachel was already waiting in the kitchen with 2 cups of tea. "You're up. Drink this, it'll warm your belly. Made with sage and wild honey." "Thank you." Martha accepted the cup, though she hesitated slightly. smells good, doesn't it? Don't worry, I brewed it myself. This tea helps circulation and calms the nerves. Martha took a small sip. A gentle sweetness spread across her tongue. Warmth filled her chest, and she felt just a bit better. You're very kind, Martha said softly. Rachel smiled and gently patted her shoulder. If you need anything, just say the word. Young people today lack compassion, but I'm different. Pregnant girls need to be looked after. That night, as Martha rested, there was a knock at her door. She opened it. A middle-aged man with glasses and a shopping basket stood outside. Sorry, are you the new tenant? Yes. I'm Martha. I'm Lawrence. I live downstairs. Just came by to say hello. If you need anything, there's a small market 2 blocks away. Be careful going out at night, there've been some strange folks around lately. Thanks, Mr. Lawrence. I'll keep that in mind. And, if you notice any odd smells in your room, don't be surprised. No one stayed on that floor for a long time. Martha nodded, but his words sent a chill down her spine. 3 days later. Martha began to feel unusually fatigued. Her head was light, her vision blurry, and her memory jumbled. She couldn't recall what she ate or did the day before, only that she drank tea from Rachel every morning. One night, she jolted awake with an icy sensation spreading across her belly. The baby wasn't moving. No, this can't be, she gasped, clutching her stomach. The next morning, she scooped the remaining tea from her cup into a small container and headed to the pharmacy near the market. The pharmacist, a young woman named Alice, frowned the moment she saw the contents. Where did you get this? The landlady gave it to me. Alice lowered her voice, her eyes full of warning. This stuff was banned a few years ago. It contains a mild toxin that stimulates uterine contractions. It can cause miscarriages. Why would you drink this? Martha froze. Oh God. What's in it? She pressed, holding the jar toward Alice with trembling hands. It's called Pergandol. It used to be used in studies to stimulate the uterus but was banned 4 years ago due to its harsh contractions. In pregnant women, it slows fetal blood flow. In severe cases, it causes stillbirth, Alice explained, voice low. Martha felt a cold jolt run down her spine. She stepped back, whispering. The landlady, she gave me this every morning. You need to stop immediately. And you should get an ultrasound to check the baby as soon as possible. Martha thanked her hastily and stumbled out of the pharmacy, her mind spinning. Everything felt like it was spinning. Since arriving at that house, something had always felt off. The moldy smell, Rachel's gaze, the jammed drawer, the strange drowsiness. She stood silently for a moment in front of a small ultrasound clinic near Grace Episcopal Church, then stepped inside. A young nurse named Valerie led her into a back room. How far along are you? 21 weeks. Valerie applied gel to her belly and started scanning. She paused for a few seconds, eyes focused on the screen. Martha clenched her hands. Is something wrong? She whispered. Valerie looked up, voice steady but cautious. The baby's heartbeat is still there but faint. There's reduced movement. I recommend you go to General Hospital for a more thorough checkup. No, please, Martha began to sob. On her way home, a freezing rain fell. Martha trudged down the slick stone streets. Every car that passed made her flinch. Her mind reeled with unanswered questions. Why did Rachel give her that tea? Why was she so unusually kind? And why did everything since arriving feel like being trapped in a nightmare? When she reached the house, Lawrence stepped out of the hallway. Ms. Martha. You look awful. What happened? He asked, clearly concerned. I'm fine. Thank you, she replied, forcing a weak smile. If you need anything, don't hesitate. Around here, Strangers aren't always welcomed kindly, he said cryptically before heading back inside. Martha closed her door. The gas heater was still on, but the warmth couldn't chase away the chill in her bones. She placed her hand on her belly and whispered, "Please, don't leave me." Without thinking, her eyes drifted toward the dressing table and its stuck drawer. Rachel's words echoed again. "Don't try to open it, dear. It's been broken for ages. Why forbid it? What's in there?" She walked over and gave the drawer a firm tug. Still jammed. Martha took a small fruit knife from her bag and began slipping the blade into the drawer's edge, prying gently. "I'm sorry, but I need to know," she whispered, sweat beading on her forehead. After nearly 10 tense minutes, a soft click sounded. The drawer popped open with a puff of dust. Inside was an old leather journal, musty and worn. Its cover was scratched and nearly torn apart. She opened it. On the first page was shaky handwriting in black ink. "If anyone finds this notebook, please leave this place as soon as possible." Martha's heart pounded. She flipped to the next page. The writing was blurry in places, smudged by what seemed to be water, maybe tears. "My name is Christina. I was pregnant when I moved in here. Rachel was very kind at first. She fed me, gave me tea, helped with everything, until I started having strange dreams. I saw myself tied up. I saw blood. I saw a little girl without eyes. I knew I was being poisoned. I took the tea to get tested. It had compounds that numbed the fetal heart muscles. I confronted her. She just smiled. She said I looked exactly like her daughter. Then she whispered, 'My daughter is dead. But you can replace her.' I tried to escape, but I always felt like someone was watching me. This drawer was the only place I dared to hide the journal." Martha's hands trembled as she flipped to the last page. A line written in red ink, "No," in blood shook across the paper. "If you're reading this, you're just like me. Just like her daughter. Run." Martha dropped the notebook, a strangled scream escaping her lips. She stumbled back and collapsed onto the floor. Just then, there was a knock at the door. She quickly shoved the notebook under the mattress, wiped her tears, and opened the door. It was Rachel. "Are you all right, dear? I noticed you were out all day." "I just went for a prenatal checkup," Martha replied, trying to keep her voice calm. "Something wrong? You look so pale." "No, just a little tired, that's all." Rachel smiled, but there was a sharp glint in her eyes. "Then you should rest early. Let me make you another cup of tea to help you sleep." "No need, really. I think I'll stop drinking tea for a few days." The doctor advised cutting back on herbs. Martha stepped back. A flicker of something crossed Rachel's face, but she quickly recovered. "Of course. You should follow the doctor's orders. I just wanted to help." She turned and started down the stairs, but her voice floated back softly. "The drawer really is broken, Martha. Don't go damaging my furniture." Martha froze. She knew. That night, Martha couldn't sleep. Her eyes stayed wide open, staring at the ceiling. Outside, wind whistled through the cracks in the window like soft moans. The phrase echoed in her mind. "You can replace her." She jolted upright, grabbed her phone, and called Teresa. "I need to leave. Tomorrow morning." "What happened? What did you find?" Teresa whispered. "She poisoned pregnant women. There's a journal. She thinks I'm just like her dead daughter." "Oh God. You have to call the police." "Not yet. There's not enough evidence. But I'm scared, she knows I found out. Sleep with your door locked. Don't drink anything. And message me as soon as you leave." Martha nodded, even though Teresa couldn't see. She locked the door tight and propped a chair against it. Still, a dreadful feeling gnawed at her. Rachel wouldn't let her leave so easily. The next morning, weak sunlight filtered through the dusty windowpane. Martha remained motionless on the bed. She hadn't slept a wink. Her hands clutched the notebook, wrapped in a sweater, hidden beneath her pillow like a protective charm. There was a knock at the door. She jumped, her heart seizing. Cautiously, she peeked through the peephole. It was Mr. Lawrence, her downstairs neighbor. "Ms. Martha, I brought some oranges from my sister's garden in California. Would you like some?" She cracked the door, trying to keep her tone steady. "Thank you. I'm feeling a little unwell today." Mr. Lawrence handed her a paper bag, then stared into her eyes for a long moment and said quietly, "You should leave this place." Martha froze. "Why do you say that?" He looked around, then whispered. "Rachel had a daughter, you probably know. She died almost 10 years ago. After that, Rachel hasn't been the same. Do you know what happened?" Martha's voice trembled. "No one's sure. But since the girl died, 3 pregnant women have lived in that room and none of them ever had their babies." Goosebumps prickled across Martha's arms. "The police never investigated?" "They came once. But nothing came of it. There was no solid evidence, and Rachel is very clever. You need to go as soon as you can." She nodded, clutching his hand. "Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Thank you for being honest." He nodded solemnly and walked away. Martha closed the door, her heart pounding. She grabbed her phone and called Teresa. Her friend picked up on the first ring. "Martha? Are you okay?" "No. I just spoke with a neighbor. He confirmed the pregnant women who stayed in this room, all vanished." "Oh my God. So I wasn't being paranoid." "Martha, you have to get out of there immediately." "I will. But I need to photograph the journal. It's evidence. Be careful. Don't let her find out." Martha ended the call, opened the journal again, and began photographing each page with her phone. As she neared the end, she discovered something new: a thin piece of paper taped to the inside back cover with old, brittle tape. She carefully peeled it off. It was a faded photo, a pregnant young woman standing in front of this very room, her face strikingly similar to Martha's except the woman had longer, darker hair. "Christina," Martha whispered. Behind the photo was a ballpoint pen note. "I will do it again. And this time, you will live in a different body." It wasn't clear if the message was from Christina or from Rachel herself. Around noon, Martha pretended to go for a walk. She stopped by a small print shop near Salem Common and handed her phone to the clerk, a young man named Stephen. "Can you print all these photos for me? 2 copies of each page." Stephen glanced through the journal images and raised an eyebrow. "Writing a horror novel?" "No, just some old research notes." Martha answered quickly. He didn't ask more. 10 minutes later, he handed her a thick stack of printed pages. "If there's any problem, feel free to come back. Here's my number." He scribbled it on the edge of the receipt. Martha thanked him and headed home. On the way back, she had the eerie feeling someone was following her. But every time she turned around, there were just normal passers-by. She started imagining footsteps, eyes on her. When she reached the house, she was shocked to see her door slightly ajar. She clearly remembered locking it. Martha slowly pushed it open. No one was inside, but something was off. Things had been disturbed. The sweater wrapping the journal was torn, the pillow displaced. The notebook was still there, but someone now knew where it was hidden. She immediately grabbed a small bag, placed the printed photos and the journal inside, then stashed it deep under the bed, taping it securely shut. She collapsed to the floor, head bowed, whispering, "She's getting closer." That night, Martha pretended to sleep. She locked the door tight, turned off the lights, and lay still with her eyes wide open. Around midnight, she heard footsteps on the wooden hallway floor. Slow, steady, and heavy. A shadow passed beneath the door. Then a whisper echoed through. "My daughter has come home." Martha gripped the small knife under her pillow. She didn't move, her eyes wide in the dark. There was no sound of the door opening. But inside, she knew Rachel had dropped the mask completely. The next morning, Martha went to the pharmacy to see Alice again. "I need iron supplements and a few basic medical tools. Bandages, a box cutter, gloves." Alice eyed her suspiciously. "What are you planning to do with those?" "I just need to protect myself." Alice nodded and silently gathered the items. As she rang them up, she said, "If you need help, my brother works for the city police department. There's not enough proof yet. But I'll call him if I find something solid." Alice nodded. "Be careful." When Martha returned home, she found her door wide open. Rachel was standing in the room, holding a teacup. "You were out early. I brought you some tea." "But you weren't here," she said softly, but her eyes were cold. "I went out to pick up some things," Martha said, stepping inside, trying to sound normal. "You've changed a lot." Rachel set the cup on the table. "You look stronger. Less trusting. That's a sign of a mother who protects her child." Martha didn't reply. Rachel stepped closer, whispering. "My daughter was too naive. Too trusting. That's why she died. But you're very much like her, just smarter. Maybe this time, the miracle will work." Martha stepped back, her voice trembling. What are you talking about?" Rachel gave a faint smile, then turned to leave. "You'll understand, dear. When the time comes." Once she left, Martha collapsed onto the bed, shaking. She grabbed her phone and texted Teresa. "Martha, she officially sees me as her dead daughter now. Teresa, get out of there now. Martha, I need more evidence. Maybe the basement. There's a locked door behind the kitchen. Teresa, you can't do this alone. Call the police. Martha, if there's nothing clear down there, they won't act. I need to know, before I leave." Martha tucked her phone into her bra and set it to video recording. She grabbed the box cutter and quietly made her way downstairs. Martha stepped carefully down the stairs, each step measured, as if afraid the floor would creak. She pressed her ear to the locked basement door. No sound from below. Where was the key? Where did she hide it? Did she keep it with her? She couldn't risk breaking in. Not yet. She returned to the first floor, sat down shakily on the old chair in the hallway, and texted Teresa. "Martha, basement's still locked. She's nowhere to be seen. Teresa, please don't go down there alone. Martha, I'll wait. But I need more info. I'll try talking to some of the former tenants." She slipped her phone into her pocket and gently knocked on the apartment door next to hers. After a moment, the door opened a crack, and an elderly woman with silver hair neatly pinned behind her head, deeply wrinkled but sharp-eyed, appeared. "Sorry to bother you. I'm Martha, renting the upstairs room." The woman nodded, squinting at her. "I'm Rose. I've lived here, 40 years. Before and after my daughter died. I have something to ask. About the women who used to live in my room." Rose paused for a moment. "Why are you asking?" "I found some notes. From a woman named Christina. Do you know her?" Rose fell silent, then sighed. "Come in. Let's not talk out here." Martha stepped into the small apartment, which smelled of wood and herbal candles. Rose poured tea from a thermos, but Martha shook her head politely. "Christina, she came here around 2016. She was pregnant, like you. Young, polite, but sad. Rachel seemed kind back then. Offered her cheap rent, took care of everything. But what? One day, Christina disappeared. She didn't take her suitcase, didn't call anyone, didn't say goodbye. The police came, but Rachel said she ran away after problems with her boyfriend. Were there others who disappeared like that? Martha asked, her voice hoarse. Yes. Before Christina, there was a girl named Alexa. She vanished when she was 6 months pregnant. Before her, Natalie only stayed a few weeks. All pregnant. Then, no one ever saw them again. Martha looked down, her lips pressed so tight they bled. Do you have any photos of Christina? Rose got up and went into the next room. After a few minutes, she returned with a small wooden box and pulled out a faded photo, handing it to Martha. Here. I took this at a small neighborhood festival. Christina was with me and a few others. Martha's hands trembled as she held the photo. The woman in the picture stood beside Rose, her curly hair falling around her shoulders, a light coat on. But her face. Oh my God, Martha stepped back. She looks just like me. I know, Rose said, eyes fixed on Martha. It's uncanny. Do you think Rachel purposely chooses women who resemble her daughter? I'm not sure. But I know she had a daughter. Her name was Clara. The girl died in 2012. After that, Rachel never spoke of her again. How did she die? An accident, officially. But I never believed that. Martha clutched the photo tightly. I have to call the police. But, they won't believe me without hard evidence. There's one way, Rose said, eyes glancing out the window. The basement key. You know where it is? Not for sure. But Clara used to hide toys under the ylang ylang tree in the backyard. Maybe. I'll try. Thank you. Thank you so much. Martha hugged Rose, her tears falling onto the old woman's hand. Rose gently patted her back and whispered. May God protect you and the baby. The sky was dimming as Martha slipped out to the backyard. The withered ylang ylang tree stood silently under the faint glow of a street lamp. She knelt and gently dug into the soil near the roots. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then her hand hit something cold and solid. A small tin box. She opened it. Inside were 3 old keys. One of them was labeled, basement. Martha stood, clenching the key, and looked toward the house, which now loomed like a silent fortress. Now we'll see the truth, she whispered and hurried back inside. At midnight, as the whole house fell silent, Martha put on a thick coat, slid her phone into her pocket, turned on the video recording, and quietly opened the kitchen door that led to the basement. She inserted the key and turned it. Click. The lock gave way. She pulled the door open, the hinges screeched in the dark. A blast of cold, metallic-smelling air hit her face. She turned on her flashlight and aimed it down the dusty wooden stairs. One step at a time, don't shake, she whispered to herself, gripping the paring knife in her coat pocket. The stairs led down to a low-ceilinged room, so low Martha had to stoop. The smell of dried blood and antiseptic filled the air. In front of her stood a rusty metal bed, restraints dangling from both sides. To the left, an old stainless steel table with test tubes, syringes, and blood transfusion tools. Oh God! She walked to a small fridge at the far end. Inside, dozens of numbered glass vials, filled with dark red liquid. A chart on the wall above showed diagrams of a pregnant woman's body, with red circles around the abdomen and spine. Martha swung her light to the corner of the room. A filing cabinet. And photos on the wall. She held her breath. Photos of pregnant women. Their young faces, exhausted, some ultrasound images, some snapshots taken inside the rental room. The last photo, Martha Collins, 29 years old. Her vision blurred. She snapped pictures of everything with her phone, hands trembling. Just then, a sound above. A footstep. A creaking floorboard. Martha turned. Someone was at the top of the stairs. The floor above groaned again. The footsteps weren't rushed, they were steady, like the person knew exactly where they were going. Martha stood frozen in the basement, flashlight trembling as it illuminated dried bloodstains on the floor. No way, she's back already, she whispered. But the steps stopped at the top of the stairs. A voice drifted down, soft and chilling. What are you doing down there, Martha? Rachel. Martha pressed her back to the wall, hand tightening around the knife in her coat pocket. She swallowed hard, forcing her voice calm. I heard something weird. Thought someone broke in. Silence. Then a low, whistling laugh, like wind through a cracked door. You snuck into my basement, without permission. That's not very polite. What are you doing with those women in the photos? Martha asked suddenly, trying to sound firm. Still silence. Then Rachel spoke gently. You saw them, didn't you? Christina, Natalie, Alexa, and now you. You killed them, didn't you? No. I tried to save them. And you, too. You don't understand. But the blood of a pregnant woman, it holds powers beyond modern medicine. You're insane. Martha backed toward the side stairs leading to the exterior door of the basement. I lost my daughter to modern medicine. They refused to treat her because she was pregnant with a rare blood disorder. Said there was no way. But when I used fetal blood from another girl, she woke up. Even if just for a few hours. Martha shook her head. You're experimenting on people. Rachel didn't answer. Instead, she whispered. You know, Martha, you look so much like Clara. Your face, your eyes, even how you walk. It's like fate brought you here so I could fix my mistake. The footsteps began descending the stairs. Martha stumbled back, flashlight flickering over the file cabinet. She pulled out her phone, quickly hit send to email the video to Teresa, and stuffed the phone into her coat pocket. Rachel emerged in the weak light. Her coat was dusty, and she held a small syringe in one hand. You're already weaker, Martha. Over the past few days, my tea helped your body adjust. The pain won't be too intense. What are you going to do? Just a little spinal fluid. I have a new device. Then I'll inject it into Clara. Clara is dead. No, she's just waiting. In another body. Martha screamed and grabbed the metal tray nearby, flinging it at Rachel. It crashed against the stairs, making Rachel stumble. Seizing the chance, Martha lunged for the side stairs and kicked the small door open. Thankfully, it wasn't locked. Cold air blasted her face. She ran, bolting into the backyard, slipping on the damp moss. The garden light flickered dimly. Rachel shrieked behind her. Martha! You can't run forever. Martha dashed through the iron gate and out onto the main road. Her belly throbbed with pain, blood seeping into her skirt, but she didn't stop. A motorbike sped by. She screamed. Help! Please help me. The rider turned around a young man. He stopped the bike, eyes wide at the sight of the bloodied, terrified woman. What happened to you? Please, take me to the nearest police station. 15 minutes later, at the downtown Salem police precinct, Martha collapsed into a chair. Her eyes were red, her face pale. Lieutenant Gabriel Thompson walked over. Tell me everything. Slowly. I need the name of the person involved. Rachel Anderson. She's the landlady. She poisoned me. She keeps a basement full of blood vials, records of pregnant women, medical equipment. I recorded everything. I sent it to my friend. Gabriel exchanged a glance with the female officer beside him, Sergeant Ellen Mason. We'll need to verify. But if what you're saying is true, this is a serious case. I'm not making this up. There's a neighbor named Rose. She knows everything. And the pharmacist, Alice, she knows the tea had toxins. Gabriel nodded and turned to Ellen. Assemble a team for inspection. Call an ambulance. She's bleeding. Ellen pulled out her phone and started dialing. Martha buried her face in her hands, whispering. Don't let her keep doing this. Don't let anyone else be hurt. 1 hour later, police forces stormed Rachel's house. When they broke into the basement, the stench of blood overwhelmed them all. Gabriel grimaced. Dear God. On the walls were images exactly as Martha had described. A refrigerator full of blood samples. A rusted metal bed. Medical instruments. And in the corner a locked wooden cabinet. When they opened it, they found a large glass jar containing a grayish mass suspended in brain fluid. Ellen turned her face away, unable to look. A file lay on the table, Clara Anderson, 1989 to 2012. Beneath it, a note, cell regeneration using fetal spinal fluid. Attempt 1 failed. Attempt 2. A chill ran down Gabriel's spine. Take everything back for forensics. Where is she? Officer Mike has her upstairs, Ellen replied. Gabriel walked up. Rachel sat in a chair, handcuffed, still eerily calm. I was only trying to heal, she said without blinking. You were experimenting on people. For my daughter. She needs to come back. I can't let her be forgotten. You killed people. Rachel smiled. They came to me. I just followed fate. Gabriel stared at her for a long moment before giving the order. Take her to the station. Charge her with serial murder and illegal human experimentation. Rachel didn't resist. As she was led away, she turned her head back toward the basement, her eyes gleaming with something wild. Clara. Mommy tried her best. A harsh white light from the ceiling beamed down on Martha's face as she lay in a hospital emergency room bed. Doctors and nurses rushed by. She felt dazed, as if torn between two realities. Part of her wanted to believe this had all been a nightmare, but deep down, she knew she had just escaped a lair of evil. She's bleeding, but not severely. Blood pressure is slightly low. Fetal heartbeat still present, one doctor said. Stay with us, Martha, a gentle male voice whispered beside her. I'm Dr. Elijah. You're at General Hospital. Martha turned her head. A young man with a calm face, deep brown eyes, and a soft smile sat beside her. Rachel, did she? Martha croaked, her lips dry and cracked. The police have her in custody. They found the basement, the medical equipment, the photos, and the blood samples. She won't be able to hurt anyone else. The baby, my baby, her eyes widened, filled with fear. Still alive. A miracle, Elijah smiled. But you need a lot of rest. Martha closed her eyes as tears streamed down her cheeks. At the Salem Central Police Station, Rachel sat silently in the interrogation room. Across from her were Lieutenant Gabriel Thompson and Detective Mary Carter. Both had already reviewed piles of evidence, the video Martha recorded, photos of the journal, testimonies from Rose and Alice, and, most importantly, the forensic report from the basement. Gabriel leaned on the table. You understand what you're being charged with? Rachel nodded, expressionless. You poisoned at least 3 women, performed blood transfusions, extracted spinal fluid, and directly contributed to their deaths. I didn't kill anyone, she said calmly. They came to me. I just experimented. They weren't strong enough. You experimented on pregnant women, Mary snapped. Do you realize that's a crime? Rachel turned to face the detective, her eyes like ice. Do you have a daughter? Mary paused, then answered. Yes. Then you understand. A mother will do anything. My Clara died unjustly. The hospital abandoned her. No medicine. No chance. I searched, for another way. Gabriel cut in. By murdering innocent women. They weren't Clara. But they carried hope. Each drop of blood was a trial. I was close. Enough, Gabriel slammed the folder on the table. You will be tried in court for serial murder, human experimentation, and premeditated poisoning. I hope you understand that. Rachel gave a faint smile and whispered. Clara will understand. I tried. 2 days later, Martha woke in the recovery ward. Gentle sunlight spilled through the window onto her tired face. Elijah sat nearby, reviewing her chart. Martha, he asked softly. The baby, is she okay? Yes. You and your baby are recovering well. But there's something. What is it? The police want to speak with you. About what you found in the basement. Can you talk for a few minutes? Martha nodded. Gabriel Thompson entered the room, this time accompanied by young officer Ellen Mason. Gabriel opened a file and placed it in front of Martha. Ms. Martha, your statement helped break open a major case. But we need you to confirm some details from the journal you found. Yes. I remember it all very clearly. The final page says, she said I looked just like her daughter. Do you believe Rachel truly thought you were Clara? Martha clenched her hands. I'm sure of it. The way she looked at me, it wasn't how a landlady looks at a tenant. It was, twisted. Obsessive. Ellen, Gabriel turned to her, read the final message. Ellen opened her phone and read in a low voice. Martha, she officially sees me as her dead daughter. That's what we needed to confirm, Gabriel said. Thank you. And the other women, Martha whispered. Ellen. We've identified 4 victims through records and DNA, Christina Collins, Natalie Rogers, Alexa Moore, and a woman named Paula Harris, who went missing in 2013. All were pregnant and had rented a room at Rachel's house. Martha's breath caught. Were their bodies found? 3 were discovered in a side chamber, buried beneath a cement floor. Paula's whereabouts are still unknown. Gabriel looked at Martha for a moment, then stood. You are the only survivor. We will protect you. And, thank you for your bravery. That afternoon, Rose came to visit Martha in the hospital. She brought a small bouquet and a silver necklace. Martha, I know you don't believe in religion, but I want you to keep this. It belonged to my daughter. She died young from heart disease. Martha accepted it with trembling hands, overwhelmed. I don't know what to say except thank you. You were the first person who helped me understand everything. Rose smiled. You've been through hell. Now survive and protect that child. No one else can do that but you. Martha bowed her head, gripping the old woman's hand. I will. I promise. That evening, Elijah brought some apples and a few comic books. For your daughter one day, he said with a gentle smile. Thank you, Doctor. You've always been here, Martha said softly. Elijah sat down, tapping the table lightly. Maybe, because I lost my mother as a child. And I can't bear the thought of another child being orphaned. And I used to think I wasn't worthy of being a mother, Martha said, her eyes welling up. After everything. I'm scared I'll end up like Rachel. Elijah took her hand. You're nothing like her. You fought evil to keep your child alive. That's what a real mother does. Martha looked down at her belly. The baby moved a soft kick. A signal of life. She whispered. We survived, baby. Night blanketed the hospital room. The wall clock showed 1:17 a.m. Martha lay still, eyes open in the darkness. The monitor beeped steadily beside her, the ticking of fragile life. Though she was safe, her mind wouldn't stop replaying the images from the basement, Rachel's cold laughter, and those haunting words. "You'll understand, my dear. When the time comes." She didn't sleep. She didn't dare. Because every time she closed her eyes, the whispers came back like ghosts. "Clara. Clara. Mommy is here." She reached for her phone and texted Teresa. "Martha, I can't shake the feeling she's still watching me. Teresa, I'm on my way to Salem. I've taken time off work. I'll be at the hospital tomorrow. Martha, thank you. I'm so scared." She put the phone down and wrapped her arms around her belly. The baby stirred again, a gentle flutter, like comforting its mother. A tear slid down Martha's cheek. Martha sat by the hospital room window, watching the soft drizzle trickle down the glass. Teresa was asleep in the chair, slumped over. Elijah arrived carrying a box of fresh oranges and a few children's books. "Have you thought of a name for the baby?" he asked. Martha gave a faint smile, still gazing out the window. "Clara." But this time, not Clara of the darkness. Clara of the light. Elijah nodded and sat beside her. "So, you've forgiven what happened?" "No. But I choose not to let it consume the rest of me." A baby cried in the room next door. Elijah stood. "You're not alone." She reached out and held his hand, feeling real warmth for the first time since that cold hell. At some point, the rain outside had stopped. The pale light of early morning streamed through the hospital window, brushing across Martha's tangled hair. She lay on her side, hand resting on her belly, feeling the faint but vibrant movements of her child. Back from hell she was alive. And her child was too. "You're awake." Elijah stood at the door, holding a cup of coffee. Martha gave a slight nod, her voice hoarse. "You stayed overnight?" "No. But I couldn't leave you alone." He sat beside her, eyes fixed on her pale face. "I told you, there's something about you that made me stay." She gave a weak smile. "First time I've heard a doctor say that." "Maybe. I'm not a regular doctor." They both laughed, though the sound still carried echoes of trauma. The door swung open. Lieutenant Gabriel Thompson stepped in, followed by Detective Mary Carter. Both wore serious expressions, which softened slightly upon seeing Martha clearly recovering. "We have good news," Gabriel began. "The court has officially indicted Rachel Anderson on 5 counts: murder, kidnapping, poisoning, human experimentation, and concealing human remains." "What did she say?" Martha sat up. She was silent at first. But when the file on Clara and the evidence were revealed, she started to unravel, Mary said. She screamed in the interrogation room, "They don't deserve it. Clara is the one who should live. And, the victim's remains." Gabriel sighed. "We've confirmed 4 identities. One is awaiting DNA results. Their families will be notified." Martha said nothing. Then she looked up at the lieutenant with steady eyes. "I want to attend the trial. You'll be summoned as the key witness. And, the only survivor." Elijah gently squeezed Martha's hand at those words. Gabriel placed a file folder on the table. "These are all the case documents. The hospital will provide your medical report. Ms. Martha. I must say this, if it weren't for you, this case would never have come to light." Mary added. "Those women, finally have a voice, through you." Martha's eyes filled with tears. She touched her belly, feeling her child's heartbeat the rhythm of life. 3 weeks later. Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, Salem. Inside the grand courtroom, light streamed in through high windows. Every seat was filled. The press jostled to cover the case. The trial of Rachel Anderson was being called the darkest scientific crime in the United States in a decade. Martha sat in the witness stand, wearing a dark blue maternity dress. She was still pale, but her eyes no longer trembled. Teresa sat in the front row, gripping her hand each time their eyes met. Rachel was brought in. She looked older, her gray hair tangled, her face bare, but her eyes still gleamed with cold madness. When she saw Martha, she smirked. "You came, my Clara." A murmur spread through the courtroom. The judge struck the gavel. Order in the court. Prosecutor Matthew Rogers stepped forward, eyes sharp and firm. "Your Honor, today we are not only trying a person, but a crime committed under the distorted guise of maternal love. The defendant, Rachel Anderson, used pregnant women as tools to resurrect her deceased daughter. How? By extracting blood, spinal fluid, and turning her basement into a laboratory of death." Rachel laughed. "They came to my door. I only accepted them." Matthew turned to Martha. "Martha Collins, please take the stand." The room fell silent as she rose. Her legs trembled, but her gaze remained firm as she faced the judge. "Martha," Matthew began, "can you describe what made you suspicious of Rachel?" "From the beginning, she was too kind. But her eyes, they weren't the eyes of a stranger. She looked at me like she was reliving something." "What did you find in the house?" "An old journal. Photos of missing women. The basement. Equipment. Blood samples. My name was among them. She chose me." "Chose you for what?" Martha hesitated. Then she spoke, slowly and clearly. "To be a sacrifice." Gasps filled the courtroom. Rachel sprang up and screamed. "No. You were chosen. Clara lives in you. You should be grateful." Officers rushed in, restraining her. The judge pounded the gavel. "Order in the court." Martha looked at her, her voice steady. "I'm not Clara. I'm Martha. And I'm still alive." The room fell into stunned silence. That afternoon, after court recessed, Martha stepped out of the courtroom and inhaled the crisp early autumn air. Elijah was waiting in the hallway. "You did great." "Thank you. I was afraid I wouldn't be strong enough." Elijah smiled gently. "You just faced someone who tried to replace your body to save her daughter. I think you're strong enough for anything." "You know what?" Martha looked at him. "I used to think my life was just a string of failures. Abandoned by my husband. Lost my job. Homeless. But then, this child kept me alive." Elijah looked down at her belly, his eyes warm. "That's your greatest gift. And I believe this new Clara will have an amazing mother." Martha smiled. A real smile. No longer forced. Sentencing day. Rachel was sentenced to life in prison without parole on 5 charges, with psychiatric evaluations concluding, obsessive grief-induced delusional disorder resulting in dangerous behavior. The judge concluded with a line that left the courtroom breathless. "No amount of loss justifies violating another's body. And no mother has the right to kill someone else's child to save her own." Rachel didn't cry. She just looked down and muttered, "Clara, forgive me." As she was led away, she turned one last time to look at Martha. "You have her eyes, as if fate chose you." Martha replied, softly but clearly. "It wasn't fate. It was choice. And I chose to live." 1 year later. Boston welcomed early spring with soft breezes and sunlight that poured over cobblestone streets like warm honey. From the third-floor window of a small apartment in South End, the scent of lavender on the balcony mingled with the joyful giggles of a toddler learning to walk. "Clara, slow down, baby. You just stepped on Mommy's lavender." Martha laughed as the curly-haired little girl toddled around. Little Clara looked up, eyes bright like morning dew. Mommy. Flowers smell good. Yes, it smells lovely. Martha walked over and lifted her daughter with one arm, the other supporting her back. That scent is here to remind Mommy, the storm has passed. She kissed her daughter's forehead. The little girl giggled and wrapped her arms around her mother's neck, whispering. Mommy is a superhero. And you're a miracle. Martha now worked part-time at a small flower shop called Light Bloom, tucked on the corner of Beacon Street. It didn't have many customers, but it was cozy and peaceful, exactly what she needed. That afternoon, as usual, Elijah stopped by. He wore a light blue shirt, carrying a bag of sandwiches and a children's medical book. Hello. Are the two superheroes home today? He called as he opened the door, the wind chime jingling. We're here. Martha stepped out from the back, wearing a floral apron. Right on time. I said I'd be here at 4:30, didn't I? Clara's napping. I just got her down. Elijah set the bag on the table. Chicken sandwiches and pumpkin soup for the shop owner. Oh, and this book, The Journey of Blood, for the little girl who should know someday that she once saved her mom from a nightmare. Martha sat down, her gaze softening. You always pick the right books. And you always think that's all I'm good at. You also picked the right person, she said suddenly. They looked at each other. A moment of silence. Elijah nodded gently, his voice barely above a whisper. I'll never forget the first moment I saw you on the street, covered in blood, holding your belly, but your eyes were still clear. No one survives something like that and keeps eyes like that. Someone saved me. Martha smiled. His name is Elijah. He's a doctor, loves black coffee, and somehow makes people believe in life again. Elijah raised an eyebrow. Sounds like a character from a story. It is. But this story's real. That night, after Clara had fallen asleep, Martha and Teresa sat out on the balcony, 2 mugs of hot tea resting on an old wooden table. A soft breeze stirred the curtains. The city was settling into silence. It's been a year, Teresa said. I still haven't gotten used to the fact that you survived it all. Martha looked up at the star-filled sky. Me neither. But every morning when I see Clara, I know I owe her a decent life. You'll do it, Teresa squeezed her hand. You're the only one who dared walk into that basement and walk back out. No, Martha shook her head, I didn't walk out alone. I had Clara inside me. I brought her out too. So, you and Elijah? Martha laughed. How many people have asked that now? Maybe, 18. We're letting things be natural. He never pushes. He's just always there when I need him. That's rare. Not many men like that. I know. And I'm holding on tight. A week later, Elijah invited Martha and Clara for a picnic at Boston Common. The sky was clear, the breeze gentle, and the leaves had just begun to bud. Clara ran across the grass, clutching a balloon and singing. I'm a butterfly. Flying. Martha chuckled. Fly low or you'll break your wings. Elijah laid out the food on a blanket, tuna sandwiches, orange juice, and homemade cookies. When did you learn to bake? Martha asked in surprise. Since I found out Clara loves cookies more than she loves me. Martha burst into laughter, then quieted. She looked at him slowly. Elijah, if one day you ever want to go somewhere far, don't go alone. He met her eyes. I'll only go if someone goes with me. I'm not who I used to be. Sometimes I wake up in a panic. Sometimes I think Clara's gone if I don't see her for 2 minutes. Then I need to stay even more, Elijah said, squeezing her hand. To remind you that both of you are no longer in that basement. June. National television aired a special investigative report on Rachel Anderson's case. Footage of the blood jars, restraint beds, and victim testimonies shocked viewers. At the flower shop, Martha had just replaced a bouquet of hydrangeas when the bell rang. A woman stood at the door, around 50, wearing a brown coat, her hands trembling as she held a photo. "Are you Martha Collins?" "Yes. How can I help you?" "I'm Christina's mother. She went missing in 2016. I saw you on TV, and I..." She choked up, tears falling. Martha stepped forward and embraced her. "I read her journal. Christina was the first to try to escape. She's the one who warned me." The woman clung to her. Thank you for speaking up for her. At least now, we have a place to light a candle." Martha pointed to a corner of the shop, where a small ceramic jar held folded pieces of paper. "You can write something for Christina. I keep this here so people can remember the victims. They won't be forgotten." The woman nodded, tears streaming down her face. One evening, Martha and Elijah sat in the living room. Clara lay sleeping in her mother's lap. She still had dreams, sometimes murmuring from memories formed inside Martha's womb. Martha never told her child about them, but a mother's heart always understands. "Elijah. Yeah. If, one day I tell Clara everything, do you think she'll understand?" "She won't need to understand with her head. Just feel the love you give her. That'll be enough. I want her to grow up strong. But not lose faith in people. Officer Ellen once told me, the most important thing isn't that justice came, but that survivors choose to keep living. You're doing that every day." Martha smiled and leaned down to kiss Clara's forehead. "Sweetheart, Mommy's not perfect. But I saved you. And you saved me." We walked through the dark together. Elijah held her hand and whispered, "And now, it's time to live in the light." Martha's story reminds us that the greatest strength doesn't lie in the body but in belief and love. Even in the darkest hell, as long as a single spark of hope remains, a person can rise and protect what matters most, life. The truth can be buried, but the light always finds a way. Martha didn't just save herself, she spoke for the ones who could no longer speak. That is the journey of justice, of a mother, and of a brave human being.
If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.